Alright, and welcome to another video on our road to Ironman Cairns 2026. For those of you who haven't been on this channel before, my name is Des Trindall. I'm a 57-year-old triathlete based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And as I said, training for Ironman Cairns in June 2026. So, excuse me, this week is week 14 to go, is what we're going to cover here. Now, it didn't start off ideally, but that is training. We can lay the plans out, and we have to deal with the things that pop up as we work those plans. So let's dive straight into it. On Monday, I ended up in the dentist chair. So what happened there was, about midnight Sunday, I woke up with a really rotten toothache back one of the molars, and it was so painful I couldn't even actually lay down on that side. So I ended up sitting up from about midnight on. I got an emergency appointment there at 9:30, and unfortunately they had to extract the tooth. I was sort of hoping maybe just a root canal or something like that, but tooth came out, so there was no training that day, and the next day was going to be a little bit light as well, because to be honest, even 5 to 6 days later, I was still in a little bit of pain with that. So that is training, and that is dealing with the ups and downs, I guess, as we work through our programs. And as I said a little while ago, not every one of our programs can be perfect in the execution. So just touching on that, just a little bit of an explanation on how I do my build phases. So this week 14 to go was meant to be the second build phase in this training block. So what I do is I have 3 build phases, so 3 weeks. The first week, second week, third week, and then the fourth week will always be an easier or a recovery week. And that's where the adaptation happens, and that's where you actually get your fitness. The weeks 1, 2, and 3 leading into that recovery week are really where you start increasing your load. So just to give you an example there, let's say you go out and you do a 3-hour ride on a Sunday. The first week, the second week you might increase that to 3.5, and the third week to 4 hours. And then in that recovery week, you might even come down as low as 2. You could sort of cut 60 to 50% off that volume, and that's where you'll pick up that adaptation, and that's where you'll get your fitness. And then the next build phase, you can increase that. So you might start week 1 at 3.5, week 2 at 4, and week 3 at 4.5, and then come back into a recovery in that fourth week again. So, but diving back into our week, so Tuesday still woke up a little bit ordinary. So rather than pushing through it and digging a bit of a hole for myself, I ended up a 60-minute indoor bike, just sitting on the trainer, nothing special, just rolling the legs over. I'm going on feel and making sure that I was still getting some sort of work, but not pushing it there. I did have a work shift that day as well, from 9:30 till 6:30, so that always had to be worked around. So Wednesday morning, I'm starting to feel a little better. It's still very sore, literally Panadol every sort of, I was trying not to, but every 4 so hours, and especially before going to bed, so I could try to get that sleep and that recovery in. I got up Wednesday morning, I did a zone 2 1 hour or 60-minute run. So just nice and steady, and just sort of building back into it after having those few days where that tooth was affecting the training. Lunchtime I hit the pool in 2,500 metre intervals, and once again, I've talked about this before, they're pretty boring, and I'm pretty consistent with them in the fact that 400 metre warm-up, you do your 5 200s, just freestyle with a 45-second rest, just nice and firm, nothing over-paced, and then pull buoy and paddles, and then the following 5 warm-up and then out. So nice and easy, nothing like that. Had some office shifts, so I actually worked from home that day, given that I wasn't quite good with the tooth as well. Give me a little bit more chance of recovery. So Thursday, I'm starting to feel a bit better now, which is good. I had a 10:30 to a 6:30 p.m. work shift, so I got out in the morning and I did an hour 50 minutes on the bike, and that covers about that 50k plus mark for me. In that, I did 2 just tempo sessions. Once again, still being mindful of the fact that I was sort of recovering here a little bit. But trying to get some work in and trying to salvage something out of this second week in this build phase. So that was it for Thursday. Friday morning, my work-wise, I had a 10 a.m. to a 6 p.m. shift again. So I got out in the morning. I do a little warm-up run, so like 10 minutes down to the beachfront. And then I did 5 by 4 minutes at roughly around that 90% mark. So for me, that's around that 148 to 152 heart rate. And what I'm really enjoying there, and probably because I was a little bit freshened up as well, but I'm seeing some very good kilometre pace averages during those 4-minute sessions. So that's what I want at this phase of training. So. Saturday, I didn't feel well at all on Saturday. I had a really bad night's sleep. I was still in a little bit of pain there and I just couldn't settle. So I ended up taking the whole day off. And I guess what I'm saying there is sometimes we have to listen to our body and don't be afraid to do that. We're still 14 weeks out from Cairns. There's no massive need to panic. And you've got to be very mindful of listening to the signals your body are giving you. So. Anyway, I knew too that I had Monday off work, so what I could do there was I could use what was going to be my long bike ride on Saturday and swap it out till Monday. And whilst it's not ideal, I wasn't going to lose that block in that training. So I did Saturday, like I said, nil training. I had a very late work shift though. I had 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Work shift, so that always interrupts with your sleep or any sleep and so on. Sunday, a 2-hour zone 2 run, so nothing special here. Once again, I just went out, I looked at mainly running to that zone 2 heart rate. So to me, I wanted to average around that 125. I knew I was going to get a little bit of cardiac drift in that last probably 40 minutes of the run, and that did happen. And that dropped the pace off a little tiny bit, but still fairly consistent with the run and still happy with the way it pulled up. After that, I hit the pool and just did a 3,000 metre, got the lap count right this time and straight through for a 3,000 metre endurance swim. And that's pretty much how the week panned out. Going in, like I said, on the Monday, I ended up swapping my Saturday long ride to that, but we'll discuss that in week 13 to go video. So if you've made it this far in the video, once again, thank you for watching. If you are subscribed, thank you. It really means a lot to see that people are getting something out of these videos. If you haven't subscribed and you'd like to, you know the drill. There's no big deal there. And until next time, stay safe out there on the roads. Cheers.